Hello and welcome to Scarlet Serpent readings. Thank you so much for joining me for today's Timeless Pick a Card reading, where we will find out why you incarnated into this family. I guess what lessons there are in having this family as your unit, how it's helped develop you spiritually, and yeah, we'll just find out what this is all about. But I want to thank all of the viewers, always subscribers, but this was a subscriber request, and I thought this was a great topic to dive into, so thank you. So yeah, we have 3 piles to choose from. I have pile 1, pile 2, and pile 3. And I'm going to have all of the piles in the description, so you can go ahead and select your pile whenever you're ready. If you need to pause the video to do so, you can do that right now, but otherwise I look forward to seeing you at your reading. Hi pile 1, so if you chose this card, this is going to be your reading on why you incarnated into this family. And this card is meant to be you, kind of like the why, I guess. It says Emerald Tablet Activation, Cosmic Ordering, Divine Alchemy, Conscious Manifesting. We'll take a look at what that's all about, probably towards the end, but let's look at... I'm going to pull an oracle for both parents, mom, dad, and the sibling. Of course, for this reading, you're really going to have to take what resonates and leave the rest, because of course everybody has, or doesn't have, siblings or both parents or either parents. So just take, again, you can take it as like a recurring type of person as well. So maybe like a mother figure, or someone who could have filled that role but wasn't actually a mother, something like that. But I think you'll know, right? So let's take a look at the father figure, and then we'll do one for mother figure. Okay, we have 2, and then we have a sibling at the bottom. Okay. The mother figure came faced up, so we'll put this first. He says, constant rescuer and soldier. Wow. We'll get some context for this in a little bit. The sibling also faced up, and this one is status quo. And then let's take a look at the father figure. Maybe because it was face down, you didn't have a father, or you didn't have a connection with your father, but we'll take a look at that. And it says addict. Of course, this might not resonate for all of you, but it kind of feels as though the mother had to take a lot of care of both of you, or all of you, depending on the family dynamic, of course. Blocking and protecting you and your sibling. What it kind of feels like is that if you do have a sibling, maybe the mother ended up being an enabler for this person, getting a little too comfortable, given your mother's defensive and protective nature. And then with the addict here for the dad, this could have led to potentially abuse or neglect or something like that. But this addiction doesn't necessarily have to be substances, although it can be. It can also be something, I guess, more normalized, where addiction to, for example, television, social media, that sort of thing, where their attention isn't where it should be regarding family, I guess, dynamics. But we're gonna get some more cards, don't worry. Again, like this sort of reading, not only is it not for everybody, but it's hard to pinpoint like the exact dynamics. So we'll take a look. Let's start with the father. Moderation, temperance. Well, and then we have. Let's move all this stuff over real quick. Reverence, air, and the 4 of swords. Like I was gonna yeah, now it's coming together. The layout for this reading changed the idea, but now I'm getting it. This is kind of something that's been instilled upon you just through observation, especially with your dad, is the importance of temperance. And we even see it here with the cups being there. So maybe that alcoholism is something that you've experienced, and maybe even some people are more prone to addiction than others, and maybe this is something that you've experienced as well, is dipping in and out of addictive practices. And that, again, doesn't necessarily mean substances. It's very easy, especially in the tarot community, to be addicted to collecting tarot decks, and what we're after really is that dopamine rush of seeing new images, and then we continue wanting to get more cards than we need. So that's just like an example. It doesn't have to be as serious as this image suggests, but I do think that through experiencing either your father or potentially like friends relationship that have this, I guess, more masculine energy, would suggest that practicing moderation has been a big part of your reasoning for having incarnated with this family or with those people around you. The card in the middle, the one that you picked, is meant to be kind of who you are, and part of this is divine alchemy. I also see the temperance cards as an alchemical card, so I do think that even if it was a negative experience, a big part of the lesson for you is, or has been, taking that energy and using it to your benefit, using it as even negative polarities or negative experiences as still energy that can be used for your manifestation. So even if it's like, I don't ever want to be like my father was, or like this person, my ex was, I don't want to be that person, but at least I can identify it. And I think that's led to your growth, and it's really led to you being the person that you are. And then just as I was going to put the deck away, but I did see transformation with the page. Again, this kind of reminds me of the temperance card. Let me show it to you real quick. So maybe that father figure did change, and maybe part of that change was through understanding the pain that it brought onto others. But again, the opposite could be true. Well, not necessarily the opposite, but like where you've changed through seeing that, and especially if you've attracted that type of person into your life in other relationships, that it's like a continuing cycle. It's like, well, part of it is, have you tolerated it in relationships? Like, it kind of feels like this mother figure would have done so, where it's just like an unwillingness to leave. Maybe because, I mean, of course, like having children changes things, but if you were in a relationship and this was the thing, it could be a sign of codependency or being afraid of leaving. I don't sense that fear with this mother figure, and we're going to get into that in a little bit, but I do get a sense of almost wanting to push through. Like there is almost a joy in having a fight, like having a battle. And maybe that part of you is what's manifesting, especially I keep going to friendships or relationships. If you keep attracting that type of person, that we'll put like the male counterpart, name it like that. And if you keep getting that into your life, then it's probably attracted to this aspect of yourself that likes to fight something. It likes to have like a nemesis or something to overcome, and so maybe that's part of what's happening. But let's go ahead and look at the mother figure with this card, or this deck, I should say. Yeah, I mean, it kind of feels like the complete opposite, honestly. So these cards represent your mother figure, or the mom, and then we have the Fool and Two of Cups. Maybe this person represents the opposite polarity with the Two of Cups usually being generous. It also, for some reason, it might feel enabling as well. Like one other figure who kind of made it okay for this behavior to take place, and so that's why it continued. Maybe buying the alcohol or just giving a false sense of security within the home, but also it was there, like that energy was there, so you could see the opposite, like the other extreme, that leaning too far on the right isn't good either, where sometimes boundaries need to be made, right? There is a thing of giving too much to others, where this male aspect again would be giving too much to yourself, so overindulgence. This could be the opposite, overindulgence but for others, sacrificing yourself and being way too giving, as a lot of times water signs can be, specifically Cancer. I'm seeing here Cancer signs like way overdoing it, and that's kind of what draws in this energy, which would make sense again. If I'm getting that strongly with relationships, friendships, or even in a work environment where it's like an enabling behavior. And if you had that as parents, then it's easier to see it, like when it's right in front of you, when they're side by side. But as you've gone older maybe and seen it in other areas of your life, it's kind of been a reminder of how you can balance. And I find that interesting that we have conscious manifesting, right? Making the conscious energetic shifts and changes within your mind and yourself that can bring more or less of either of those two sides together into your waking experience. But that could have been something that you had to overcome from a past life, something like that, where you've might have been both of those at some point in a past life or even in this lifetime. And I think I'm seeing with Emerald Tablet, like potentially writing about these things, about these opposites, but that's not just to say, this is bad, this is good. It's kind of like really understanding the mindset that leads to this sort of behavior. And when you could understand that mindset, then maybe you're more easily able to not just empathize, but maybe even shift that with other people. And so I'm imagining like this would be the pile who, and I've mentioned this before, I think in the last couple readings, so I don't know if it's the same type of person who's like some sort of counseling therapy or addiction counseling, something like that, like through understanding it and potentially going through it yourself, you have a very good understanding of the things that lead to this sort of destructive behavior. And then for a potential sibling, we have status quo. So let's take a look at a couple cards for that. But I kind of imagine someone who's just like, I'm not going to involve myself. I'm going to just go numb to what's happening around me and not engage. So we're seeing a lot of opposites here, right? One is chained together. I mean, this is very strong imagery, given we have the Fool here, which would be, which card is it here? Yeah, this one. And then we also have the Ball and Chain, which would be closely associated with the Addict card. So maybe this person, this potential sibling, or, take it as you will, might, and we have another Cancer card too with the Three of Cups, right? So these cups are taking on a different meaning just with this context. But I'm kind of seeing like a balanced form of your parents, Page of Wands, but like a bit reserved, like I guess with the status quo card, kind of diluted, settling for less. Like I think maybe if you have a sibling, they're just okay with, as long as I'm not on either extreme, it's fine. But really, it's less likely that they're someone who pursues big, bold ideas. They'd rather play it safe. And I think since you've seen all of those sides, there's this part of you that wants to aim big, but not at the expense or not at the cost of overdoing it with dopamine rushes or overdoing it with giving too much and being overprotective. Like, it's big and bold, but it's still balanced in its approach. And I think that's kind of like what you are, bringing a lot of healing to not only your family, but more importantly, kind of like the earth, the planet as a whole. Like, I think this pile represents, more so than the other three, potentially, like wisdom, very, very strong wisdom that comes through difficult circumstances, but also like that makes you very solid and unwavering in your approach to life and seeing other people and seeing either this family presence or like these opposing energies in other people, and kind of being able to very easily identify not only the actions like of giving too much or being this constant rescuer, which was your mother's side again, almost creating conflict just so you could save people, or I should say they could save others, making people feel small. And I think you've been the person in here where an overprotective mother is just as overbearing and unbalanced as the, quote unquote, addicted father. It's through balance that you find joy. And I think as the people in your life become more balanced, you feel ultimately more satisfied. But you still aim big and you still push others to be the best version of themselves just because of where you've been raised, I'd say. I'm going to end the reading there. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I know it was heavier, and I have a feeling maybe the other readings are going to be heavy, which was not expected. But yeah, let me know in the comments how this resonates. If you have any suggestions for other readings, I'm all ears. I know I have a long list of them. I get to them eventually, but hopefully you enjoyed it. Please let me know in the comments, and I hope to see you in the next reading. Take care. Hi, Pile 2. If you chose this card, this is going to be your reading on why you incarnated into this family. The card that you chose is I Am Presence. It says light body activation, accessing the divine within. So let's take a look. The last pile was kind of heavy, so I guess I should say trigger warning potentially. And sorry about the noise. They're cutting the grass, and I don't have time to wait, honestly. So let's just get into it. I'm going to choose a few oracle cards for both of your parents. So we'll start with the masculine, potentially father energy first, and then mother. So maybe your mom wasn't as present, but we'll take a look at that. And then sibling, if you had any. Call to change. Right. So so that's kind of interesting that for the last pile as well, like the mother and the sibling cards were faced up, but the father was face down. We'll see what that means. But for the mother, we have refusal to change. I'm also getting a sense of like refusal to listen. Like this mother figure might be someone who thinks is always right, but also maybe for maybe one or a couple of you, like be like dementia or something like that, where they just can't change, but what's interesting is that the sibling got called to change, and these cards were shuffled. So this is almost the opposite energy of the mother figure, and so maybe either you or a sibling went out of the way to not be like the mother, which is interesting. And then we have the father figure, which is integration. Interesting that all these cards were gray, and again, these were shuffled very well, but this could be an energy that you leaned into. Maybe you had a father or a grandfather who was very, very, very balanced, and could have been someone that also was a bit isolated, though, because like if the mother figure wanted to be still, then the father might have just traveled and gone out of the way and just been like, I'm not gonna be held back by someone who doesn't want to explore their own consciousness, their own mind, or the world. But let's see. Let's get a few cards for the father. Wow. So I'm not kidding about that, though. Like, we have this, and again, since I had mentioned that this could be a grandfather, I'm getting a sense of that too. If it doesn't resonate, that this is the immediate father figure, but I'm getting a sense that this energy is incredibly wise, incredibly well respected. I mean, for the father figure, and so maybe, although this is the masculine energy, I do feel like this masculine energy might have been in your life to show you what it's like to have like a positive father figure, or a positive healed masculine energy where there isn't any form of overcompensation or anything like that. Because look at these cards. We have enlightenment, integration, and insight. So I also get a sense that this father figure, I'm kind of, with this card, it might feel like they'd passed away, or could be an ancestor. So again, like, if you don't resonate, and I know this reading is going to be one that's a lot more polarizing, just because different family figures, and of course, take what resonates. But like, this feels like maybe an ancestor, maybe a grandfather, but definitely there's a part of that that's there specifically to show you that like toxic masculinity isn't inherent in all men, obviously, but like especially since even as a mother figure, they can have stubborn traits, So let's take a look at the mother, and then we're gonna bring all these things together at the end. But I'm also getting a sense, like, if you resonate with the idea of having this enlightened grandfather, or almost like a shamanic vibe. Wow. I don't know. I think that either your parents or grandparents, like, there's a lot of I don't know, maybe witchcraft or divination or something like that, where they're both very powerful. One more, Nine of Pentacles. So this represents your mother figure, shadow work. And the Nine of Pentacles. I do think that for this pile, maybe you've had more of a, I don't want to say conflict, but there's a bit more clashing with the mother for this pile, maybe they sort of forced you to look into your shadow, or they might have be someone who represents the shadow within you, where someone who is beyond your control, beyond your ability to influence in any way. And that's not necessarily a bad thing inherently, but it also kind of forces you to reflect on how too much of this energy keeps you stagnant and potentially alone. But we could also see here that there's like a dancing figure. And as it shows with the sibling, that maybe it also pushes people away, which could be something this mother figure wanted, but could also be just a consequence of having these walls up, the two pillars, my way or the highway. And maybe it's just like these parental figures show again, I mean, that's going to be the case, I think, for everybody, but like opposites, where this father energy was more integrating. Well, integrating is in the card, but a bringing together of energies, and then this is more of a pulling apart of energies, and they both have their place. It's like breathing in and out, but you can't hold the exhale and you can't hold the inhale for too long. But I do get a sense that, like, through your spiritual practice, you've gotten the most benefit from integrating both, kind of like this grandfather figure and maybe ancestral wisdom that comes from the mother, from her own isolation. But let's look at your sibling. And if you don't have a sibling, this could be like a cousin, this could be you. We have justice, which is that balancing. Maybe you represent a karma for both of these parents, and especially if you don't feel particularly close to any of them. Like if you moved away, you have the King of Pentacles, which is interesting because we kind of get the earth energy for both cards, but it's how the earth energy is used. Like, is it stubbornness for the sake of being stubborn, or is it creating a foundation and stable environment so others can be welcome and feel safe? Last card. Two of Swords. Oops. Sorry. And then I just want to look again at your card, which is I Am Presence, Light Body Activation, accessing the divine within. It could be that for both of these parents, like, you didn't really feel all that close to them, and that doesn't mean they didn't have a strong presence in your life, but it could mean that, like, you really didn't feel like you belonged in either side, and that kind of force you to make your own relationship with both of them, in a way, if that makes sense. It's kind of like instead you referred more to your spirit team, more to your guides, and maybe, I don't know, I get a sense that, like, even though your parents have been, or your family, or whatever it is, like, they were in your life, but your guidance came from, like, and that's why I think for this pile, I keep going back to ancestors and maybe, I was going to say aliens, extraterrestrials, starseed energies, but also, like, angels, like angelic, like, it forced you in a way to go into other realms and integrate different types of energies and explore a more celestial side of yourself, a part of you that extends beyond what you've been given. But I do think you've learned and were blessed with two very balanced, extreme types of wisdom. You know, one represents more earthbound, this would probably be your father, kind of like maybe financial insight, wisdom, very practical guidance, but also still loving. And then the mother would be more of celestial, big thinking, extremely intuitive, ethereal, things that can't be necessarily written down or learned. And maybe that's what made that side of your family kind of come across as stubborn, because they're busy following their own rules, and you or your sibling or both, you know, have learned to kind of blend those things together to at least listen to others, you know, not be so stubborn as to never consider the guidance of others, but ultimately be a fair, loving, wise judge in pursuing the things in your life that bring life to you, but also provide something beneficial to others as well. So yeah, I'm gonna end the reading there. I'm not in a rush, I promise. But hopefully you enjoyed this one. I know it might have been a more difficult reading topic to cover, but I do think it was a great one. So if you have any suggestions, you know, I'll be happy to hear those. But otherwise, I look forward to seeing you in the next reading. Take care. Hi, Pile 3. If you chose this card, this is going to be your reading. Why you incarnated into this family. And we have third eye activation. It says brow chakra, inner vision, and clear seeing. So I'm going to leave that to the side for now. It represents you, though. So we're going to get some oracle cards on mother energy, father energy, and a sibling. Yep. So we'll start with the father, mother energy, okay, and sibling. Cool. So they're all face down, which is interesting. Start with the mother, wizard. Wow, so definitely straight away very powerful. Energy from the mother figure could have been someone who practiced their own divination, whether or not you realize it or whether or not they realize it. I think that's interesting. They could have also been tarot readers or astrologers. Let's look at the father figure. Charlatan. Okay, we have the serpent energy. They're a bit of a trickster. Definitely getting a low-key presence, and this does not mean anything bad. I want to be really clear about that. That it could just be maybe they were an actor, musician, playful energy. Let's look at the sibling, or it could be your energy. We'll see. And I also want to say that the mother-father dynamic, like this family reading, could also apply to relationships. Like if you've had a certain pattern in the types of people that come into your life, this could be a reflection of that energy. So, but we do have the judge, balancing lots of wisdom. So I mean, like the people you're born into and these people who come into your life, I don't know if any of you came from any of the other piles, but these are very bright, not just bright, but very wise. Like I want to say ascended in some form or in some way. Like they're very powerful, and for some of you, like that might not be the case for your immediate family, but this could be people that have been drawn into your life later on in life as you've evolved. You've drawn in more evolved people who share your mindset and an appreciation for the spirit realm, an appreciation for astrology and divination and stuff like that. And I think as you've evolved, the people around you have also become a bit more balanced. But so far, like all these cards have purple in them and gold, so I'm getting a sense of like very wise crown chakra, you know, like always open for receiving different perspectives, and ultimately are incredibly balanced. And I think, I don't know, it reflects in your personal card as well. It's like I think it's clear for these people in your life, or at least at some point, that they see themselves as parts of a bigger whole, you know. Like they're not self-centered. They might center themselves, but you know, they might refer to themselves for their own wisdom and their own guidance, but they don't think that the universe revolves around them literally. So that's pretty cool. Let's look at the mother energy. Queen of Wands. Yeah, whoa. Yeah, the Queen of Wands, I do think of like a witch, wizard, so that's kind of confirmation in my mind that they've practiced, or at least grew up around maybe witchcraft, or they have an understanding of that energy. They could be mediums or something like that. So maybe you're raised into that household, and maybe that's part of the reason why you were raised there. At least with the mother figure, is a kind of like an early access guidance to something beyond the physical world, you know. So this represents some of your mother's energy, but we also see the Five of Pentacles, which is Moon in Taurus. So maybe that also came at a price of not feeling connected to the physical world as much. We'll notice that this wizard is looking up and not down. We'll see what the cards have to say about the father figure, but this would be someone who would gladly prefer following their heart and divination and doing things that feel meaningful at the expense of not having the financial support that they could have had, you know. But let's look at the father. I'm curious about this energy, actually. Earth. Yeah, this is the complete opposite. And Tower, upheaval. So it kind of feels like with the Tower being here, this card connects for me directly to Loki. So I kind of feel like a very strong Loki presence here. And the ability to kind of like wipe things out and create chaos and movement. But also communication. So very strong leadership abilities. So it's kind of like this father figure had the in your life might have maybe not directly taught you, but showed you the ways of having a commanding presence and being able to organize different people and get others to listen to you. And there's like a diplomatic approach to this father figure. And maybe as when you were a child, it could have seemed as though it was manipulative or untrue, but in reality, it was a means of creating support for the family. It was a means of playing the game that is living on planet Earth, as opposed to the mother figure, which is like she just seems like someone who was less willing to play that game and saw it as beneath her in a lot of ways, but at the same time that came at the expense of having less again financial weight to her. But at the same time, that taught you the importance of kind of like understanding the self and having your own personal connection. So it's like both of these figures in your life and these family, in this dynamic, they had a lot of really positive things to share with you, right? And I think I don't know, I'm not really getting strong sibling energy here for you. I mean, we'll take a look at it anyway, but I have a sense for a lot of you this is going to be represented by you. Yeah, with the 8 of Wands, I feel like this pile, actually, both the mother figure, father figure, potential siblings are all excellent at communication. The difference is that I think the mother figure, of course, take it as it resonates, but like, is better with communicating with spirit and nature and unhuman, non-living things. So it's like communicating with animals, things like that. The father figure is more can present for people, can go in front of camera or a big board meeting and convince shareholders, of their products, efficiency, stuff like that. So communication, regardless, is very strong with you, with your family, inherent in your bloodline or whatever. But the direction in which that communication is being projected changes greatly, so that's pretty cool. And it makes sense because so I'm gonna say like this is either you or a sibling or something like that. We have the 8 of Wands again with that communication, not only from you, but also receiving that guidance from spirit and from other people as well. So I do think that you are inherently a very good listener. We do have the Lovers card, so maybe this sibling is actually a romantic partner or a best friend, but I do think more so than anything at this point in your life, you've integrated both of these mother-father dynamics into yourself in the most balanced way possible. We do have the Queen of Wands, which makes you again very sharp thinker, quick on their feet. It's hard to get anything across like past you, and I also see that connecting very strongly with the Judge, this card right here, if it wants to focus, there we go, which is Libra energy. So again, balanced in your way of thinking, potentially intimidating though, because not only of your energy directly, but I think also your parents' energy, again, kind of like influenced who you are as someone who has a lot of power and who should be heard, And I think ultimately that leads to this card, which is, I'd say, out of all the readings in this pick a card, this pile has been the most clear, and I don't think that's an accident. I just think that's you in a lot of ways. That clarity and focus is very apparent, and the reason for that is I think you're meant to straight up teach others. Like, this is the Hierophant card, so kind of not only receiving guidance and wisdom, that takes a strong mind and ability to listen with communication again, but also grounding it physically takes some of that earth energy that we got from the father figure. So kind of like that listening and having that commanding presence in kind of balancing both of these, the spiritual aspects, and also communicating the spirituality to kind of the layman, the common person, if you will, but connecting in a way that doesn't feel pretentious, but is approachable, approachable for the masses. And I think you have the potential to actually make money from doing this. So it's not like you have to sacrifice finances for pursuing something metaphysical. I think, especially out of all the piles, like, this is the one that's most likely to be able to really combine everything, the best aspects of all of your family, into a singular focused purpose in life. And I guess that comes down to this third eye activation, clear seeing, bringing everything together to open new possibilities for the people around you that you care about. So yeah, I'm gonna, at that moment it said 12:21, so I guess that might be a number for some of you. But anyway, I'm going to end the reading with that. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Please let me know in the comments. I'm always open to doing more subscriber suggestions for pick-a cards, although I'm kind of behind on those, so I'm trying to catch up, but we'll see eventually, right? But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this. Please let me know in the comments. Like, share, subscribe if you haven't already, and thank you for watching. I hope to see you in the next reading. Take care.